Hello, everyone. Welcome to my Wednesday live Q&A. Lovely to see you here. Good morning, Sophia, Robin, Vicky. Hi, Chuck. Welcome, welcome. Before I begin today, I have a few announcements. First of all, I won't be doing a live next week because I'm going on a trip. I'm leaving tomorrow morning, heading to Mexico for a much needed R&R time. Really looking forward to that. So I will be posting the next live date, which will be 2 Wednesdays from today. And you can leave your questions and comments, and I will get to looking at all of those and choose a couple of topics out of your questions for the next live. Yay! Hi, Sue. Welcome back. So this week's topics, oh, right, I have one other thing. And that is I'm doing a sale, my seasonal sale, and it has already begun. It goes until March the 20th, and that sale is for 23% off all services. That's readings and ancestral healings that are purchased online through my online booking system before March the 20th. There's a coupon code to access that discount, and you'll see that in the link below. So I look forward to seeing you all here when I return from my holidays, and I am booking, as I said, into early to mid-March. And if you use the sale coupon, you can access that discount, and also you can book your readings anytime in the upcoming weeks and months. They don't have to be booked before the end of March. So let's get to our questions. This week, I'm looking at a few questions. First of all, Tracy Cockerton, hi Tracy, if you're here, has asked me to speak about the Ringing Cedars series. Now, I am doing a special presentation with Honey and Shanti. This is a book club presentation, and you can access that. I'll put the link below for that as well, where we're actually going through the entire first book of the Ringing Cedar series. And we're talking about it in quite a lot of detail. So if you want to know more about the specific chapters and topics that are discussed in that book, you can tune in to those interviews where we're just basically having discussions about our perspectives. So I first read this Ringing Cedar series back in, it must be now the early 2000s. I feel like it was when it first came out in English translation. So I'll give you a very quick recap. This is a series that was written and produced in Russia in the late 90s. It's created a lot of mystery and mystique because it's based on the experiences of a businessman who was traveling up the Volga River in the early to mid 90s doing business. And he ended up making contact with what we could really only describe as indigenous people living in the taiga or in the forested areas along the side of this Volga River that goes into very, very remote parts of Russia. So he would be stopping with his entourage doing business along the way, along the river. And he ended up meeting these two elders and eventually their granddaughter, who had been living out in the forest virtually off the land since birth. Now, these are people of European extraction, and they are known as the Vedic people, the ancient Vedic people. And apparently there are a few of them that still live in their traditional ways out in these remote forested areas in Russia. So what ensued from that meeting is that Vladimir, who's the man that wrote the book, Vladimir Magray is his name, and he ended up having these phenomenal interactions with these indigenous people. And the word indigenous really means of the earth, born on the land, but also in harmonic sacred relationship with the earth. So these people and their ancestors had lived in this place for a really long time, and they have all of these incredible insights about how to live in harmony with nature. So he ended up writing a series of 9 books around his ongoing interaction, particularly with the granddaughter Anastasia. And in that series, particularly in the first one, a concept is introduced to the audience around how we can basically restore beauty, harmony, and dignity to our planet and to our species by following these very basic premises of living in a harmonic relationship with our planet. So I'm going to do some cards about how we can utilize these teachings, because to me, basically, this woman, Anastasia, gave Vladimir Magray a whole manifesto about how we can recreate this good relationship. And it's very, very practically laid out. Obviously, it has to do with us getting back to living closer to nature, being more, living off the land and exchanging our goods and services. But most importantly, it is about having a different outlook towards the natural world. So when I read the series, what I was really struck by, and of course I'm reading it again now, so it's even more profound, I was struck by the difference in the attitude around what it means to go out into the wilderness and eke out your survival. Because when I think about our pioneer ancestors, for example, here in North America, all you hear about is it was so challenging. They had nothing, and they had to carry their water, and they had droughts and, tornadoes, and they got wiped out, and it was like just such a hard life, and they had to scrabble out their existence and that kind of stuff. And, that's the actual truth. However, what's interesting is that the worldview, the underlying philosophy that they went into it with is we've got to battle nature. We've got to battle the elements. We've got to survive. And basically, the whole psychological, philosophical perspective of the Ringing Cedar series is the opposite. It is not, it's really changing your whole worldview to not based in fear and lack and insecurity, but based in love, connection, mutual aid, mutual support, reciprocity. And it's hard to really give you a lot of examples without going into big portions of the book. And, maybe I will do that at some point. Certainly, we are doing that, as I said, in this book club offering. However, today, what I'd like to do is I'd like to tune in with the cards and just see what we need to know about how we can begin to access this kind of philosophy. And is this the time for these teachings to be brought into our hands? So I'm going to put the screen down so you can have a look at what I'm doing here with the cards. I've already done my clearing, energetic clearing of the cards. Yes. Hello. Just seeing some comments of people that have obviously read the series or heard of it. All right. So here's us. We are Four of Cups, we are feeling quite protective. We're feeling um, not super open right now to anything, not super trusting. The Four of Cups is we're trying to stabilize ourselves emotionally. Let's see what we need to know. Oh, yeah. So this card is really about being burdened, being exhausted. And interestingly enough, you see the character here. He's sitting under a tree. And in the series, in the Ringing Cedar series, of course, it focuses a lot. It's called the Ringing Cedars for a reason. It focuses a lot on the energy of the forest, particularly these sacred cedar trees that have been growing in this part of Europe since the dawn of time, really. And it is a lot about how these trees are actually beyond their medicinal properties of their bark and their needles and their pine nuts and so on. They actually are ringing with knowledge, information, teachings that are, in a way, essential to humanity's overall spiritual, emotional, and mental health, and possibly even physical health. So, the first thing that the author and Anastasia suggest is that we don't just take this information in the way we take in everything else. We don't just read these books, sit down with, your cup of tea after a long day and read the book, that we're actually supposed to go out in nature and read them, and that we're supposed to get ourselves into this state first where we are calm, open-hearted. And so what I'm being shown here is that we may not be able to really take in this information in our current state of overwhelm and burnout and emotional exhaustion. However, the Page of Cups, in the past, this is an invitation. It's a gentle invitation to slow down and tune in. Yep. Again, be patient. Lovely. Okay. So it feels like a book club type of, this is a celebration, a sharing among people. So it feels like exploring this not by yourself in the way that you're used to taking in information, but exploring it in small groups. So they're saying ideally it would be great for us to form these little mini book clubs around this series and to read it slowly together. I'm hearing that it would be ideal for us to read just 3 chapters at a time, even 3 chapters over a month-long period. Like, basically, I'm hearing no more than 1 chapter a week. So not to just try to, there's 9 books, but they're saying not to just, gorge yourself on the information. This is really, really a big message here, folks, is we are literally stuffed with information. Like the guides are saying, we're so gorged with information, there's no room for anything else. So, yeah, gradually emerging from that overwhelm, burnout, and really allowing yourself this vision of, I say this all the time, and I know it's making me not super popular with some people. I have to tell you, and my children would totally agree, there's probably no one you've ever met that's struggled with the conundrum of time compression as much as I have. Like, I have resisted being patient my whole life. It's been such a huge task for me to trust time. And it's probably been the greatest healing of my life, is to literally move into sacred harmonic relationship with time. If we feel that there's not enough time and we're being rushed into a solution, we might as well give up, because it's never going to good, sustainable, healthy solutions are never going to be birthed from that place. Um, and like I said, everyone, I'm I was probably one of the worst offenders throughout most of my life. I was just like so incredibly anxious about time, planning things, trying to squeeze as much into short periods of time and just download as much possible data as I could. And, underneath all of that, there's like an actual real fear of, abandonment, of loss, of insecurity, of, that we are literally running out of time. There's never going to be enough. Like, where does that ever stop? Where do you ever go, okay, there's enough time? And there has to be. The guys are saying we control time, and they're saying demand it. Demand it from your higher self. Demand it from your soul self. There will be time for us to heal. This is what they're saying. So that's this. If we're going to birth this beautiful new earth together, and the Anastasia Ringing Cedar series is one template that we can follow. There's many other beautiful templates as well. We can merge them all together in such an exquisite way. And if we're going to do this, actually do it and succeed, we've got to manage that fear of time. It's almost like the most important first step. And that means the slower we go with this, the more we actually allow what we've ingested to integrate in terms of information, the more space we create to actually do some real healthy digesting of this type of information. So sorry, it sounds like a bit of a lecture. The guys are pretty strictly speaking here about this, and they're, I'm still at fault with this. So I'm right there with you, everybody. And that beautiful, I don't even remember who it was that said it, but I heard this years ago, which was most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year. They put so much pressure on themselves. I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And they totally underestimate what their sustained collaborative effort can create in a decade. So it's that long-term plan. Like, we literally lose sight of our bigger vision because we're so anxious about making now safe, shortcuts, like quickly get this information in, and what am I going to do about it? And so this is like, if we can't get onto this long range, like, command time to work for us, any amount of information is just going to feel indigestible. And if you can't digest it, you can't make use of it. So again, I'm sorry, it feels like it's a bit of a lecture, but again, even they're saying, even really positive information. So we've been taking in all reigns of, challenging information. Most of you who are watching have been awake for a while, and you've been just, literally pummeled with challenging information. Well, likewise, really profound, extraordinary, hopeful, inspired information is also shocking. It's also hard on the system to take that in. So let's start with joining in groups. If you're going to read this series, you can access the books online. I'm not sure exactly where, but it's called the Ringing Cedar series. The first book is called Anastasia. It's the name of the woman living in the taiga. And if you're going to do this, give yourself time and space, form a little discussion group, and allow the information to integrate so that it can actually change you. Even the integration of the information can change you, even if you don't utilize it in the outer world now or within the next decade. You will be different. because you can actually perceive reality differently. So that's the rant about this. Yes, woohoo! Thank you. Can we read the books together with you? Oh, that would be so lovely. Let me think about it. I've got my production life is pretty full, but I will think about that. Um, Lovely. Thank you. Hello, Alexandra, Susan, Yolanta. Oh, yeah, Sonia. Yeah. Oh, someone's talking about Michael Tellinger. Um, oh, yay. Okay. So let's go on to the second topic. And I'm going to close off a little early today because I have a reading booked and a full day of readings following this. So the next topic, there's actually a sort of a two-part with it, is first of all, Chuck Wilson brought to my attention something that I've known about for years as well, the pole shift micronova events. What will our Earth experience? What do we need to know about this? And Krista McKnight, I'm sorry, she asked a couple of weeks ago about 600 feet above sea level, if this is going to be something we need to be concerned about. What do we need to know? So I feel like these two topics kind of go together because there are a lot about massive Earth changes that have been prophesized. There's different scientific evidence for these types of changes. Basically, this idea of the poles shifting, there's different versions of it. And there's a lot of information that you can find out online about this topic. What I want to do is I want to look at sort of the deeper messages around what do we need to know about navigating. We know, for example, that the Earth is going through a lot of changes. We can see the evidence of that with our own eyes. And we've got, climate activists totally going one side of things, which I have to be honest with you, I've for years believed to a certain degree that a lot of that is potentially viable. Like, I do believe that our careless, reckless misuse of the resources on this planet has created a lot of damage and destruction. I mean, how could it not? It's like it isn't this is a closed system, right? It's like we're all in this together. If we're burning coal and mining and extracting oil and putting out these strange combinations of chemicals that are really toxic and poisonous to a lot of life forms all over the planet. Of course, that's going to have an implication in a closed system. That's just obvious. However, there's also systems within systems within systems in terms of Earth changes. There's even a belief, there's even a philosophy that us doing all of that is part of Earth's shift. Like, not that it means we should just carry on doing that, with careless abandon, but that there was some reason that Earth needed to do this kind of purging. It's like we created some kind of toxic medicine that Earth needed to go through part of its natural evolutionary process of shifts. So when you look back both through the esoteric literature and the scientific literature, you will see these marker points where there's been things like pole shifts and, cataclysmic events, the star sun events that have created Earth changes and so on. So what do we need to know about this right now? Because what we do know from different cultural systems that have calendars associated with them is that we are in these cycles where a lot of the cycles within cycles within cycles are coming to a turning point right now. So, of course, this is very scary because it's very likely that there's going to be large responses on behalf of our Earth. And they are caused by all kinds of different things, but they happen consistently in these time cycles, regardless of what we do. So it isn't about blaming, shaming, you know, running for the hills and being really afraid. I feel like it's more about connecting with our earth in a meaningful way. And if we've had that effect of creating an imbalance, we also have tools to heal that imbalance. And I want to say that over the years in different readings, some extraordinary things have come through around this. I actually saw in a few readings over the last couple of decades things related to how humanity has been part of seeding some of these extraordinary ecosystems that our ancient ancestors, we know we've been around a lot longer than what our modern science and history tells us, and that some of our most ancient ancestors actually were part of seeding, as I say, these extraordinary ecosystems, including the Amazon rainforest, that we actually have had a co-creative, co-developing relationship with that. And this is actually what I've been shown most recently is that, we have a purpose in these different phases of time. And what I've been shown around this particular juncture with all the turning points associated with it is that we are actually coming back to one of these phases where we're going to be doing extraordinary earth healing, recreating a paradise planet, that's a big part of our destiny. So, got to get my head on track with looking at the actual pole shifts and how what I've been shown about our role in all of this is going to segue with the timing of these potential, big, possibly devastating changes. So I'm going to put the screen down again. Let's have a look and see what the wisdom of our collective guidance wants to share with us around this topic. Wow, this is beautiful. One of the things, this is the Valor card, 7 of Wands. It is a spiritual card. It's coming back into integral alignment spiritually, and it's seeing that, it feels like, again, one of the big things for us to focus on is seeing ourselves from the opposite perspective so that we're not seeing ourselves as destroyers of our home, but we're seeing ourselves as not only custodians or guardians, but actually healers of our planet. Isn't that interesting? Oh, wow. Okay. So look at that. There's the planet. You see it? 2 of Wands is getting a big overview. So I'm going to start by saying intuitively, the hit I get is that it's about 200 years away. And that by the time, and I'm speaking now about this micronova pole shift event, by the time we get to that place, we will actually have supportive technology in place to guide our Earth in a more gentle transition through that pole shift event than what it's gone through over the last 2 pole shifts. Wow. Okay. How do you feel about that? I feel pretty amazed by that, actually. The Chariot in the past. So we've just been racing ahead. Again, like I said, this is the, on the mission, on the Earth mission. However, this mission is about to get a lot bigger. This is not just about hey, you and me get to survive through these, unexplained, unpredictable, cataclysmic events, and we might get to live through it. This is actually like we are coming in to to do incredible healing midwifery work here on planet Earth. And we're not just here to take a free ride and get out the other side hopefully okay. We're here to actually do an extraordinary co-creative birthing process. Oh, look at that. Ace of Cups in the center, unconditional love, forgiveness, coming back into the beautiful essence of what the majority of our soul selves are, is this loving, unconditional essence of co-creation. There will always be a little dark shadow, a little spot in that. That little spot is the spot that keeps regenerating, keeps energy moving. They're saying that little spot is like the belly button of our earth. There's always going to be energy coming and going from this closed system. So it's almost entirely closed, but it is open a little bit. There is this portal energy, portal opening. Part of what we're doing is we're healing the portals. And that feels like that's within the next 100 years. So this is 200 years. This is the next 100 years. And we're healing the portals by healing the portals in our own bodies. These chakra systems, we're healing our chakra portals because all 7 to 9 to 12 to so on of them have been extremely, compromised, co-opted, and so on. Oh my gosh. And this is the inner child. So it's very likely, even in the next decade, the children that are coming in, the children that are being born are these healers, and their children will be literally seeding a new planet, a new paradise on earth. And some of how they're going to be doing that is through systems described in, philosophical systems like the Ringing Cedar series and others. So this isn't a grab for one guru, one practice, In a way, it's like again, that's another symptom of our inner insecurity, is that we just want it to be simple. We're afraid of complexity and diversity. It's like we're afraid, again, to just relax and stay observant. We're afraid of co-creation. And that is because our portals have been compromised. So self-love and healing is the order of the next 100 years. And as we do this, there will be a lot of cleansing. There will be a lot of clearing. We will grow into these beautiful beings, and our children and grandchildren will become these incredible beings. I mean, they're coming in for this task. So they will be these extraordinary beings that will bring the different strategies, the diverse strategies that create the paradise here on earth, that recreate this paradise. And even if you can allow yourself to imagine that there's some way that what we've just gone through, all this polarized dark and light shadow aspect of our evolutionary cycle, is actually going to make the golden age that much more beautiful. So big healing, 200 years to complete this process. Again, wow, take a big breath. I'm going to see if there's any side cards. Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is so, so lovely. this feels to me like an absolutely synchronized relationship with the birthing process. So our earth is birthing something. It is birthing a new version of itself, just like we are birthing new versions of ourselves. So we can be part of this great, beautiful experiment by doing our work within ourselves, and the earth automatically receives that gift and mirrors it back to us. So, when you're anxious about where do I go to escape, look at that, the same two cards, give it a decade. When you're anxious about where do I go to escape, the message is you go in here. You go in here, and there's no need to escape, because truly, if you're meant to be part of this reseeding, you will be at the right place. There's no worry about that. I remember one of my favorite Canadian authors, Anne Cameron. She's written all these beautiful, inspired books. I recommend you looking up her work. And I remember in one of the books, and I can't pronounce the name of that particular book, but she talks about this legend about a mythical Indigenous woman from one of the nations here in British Columbia, Canada. And this woman basically becomes a version of her supernatural self through the incredible journey of her spiritual self-development. And in that process, she goes on these journeys alone into the wilderness, and she ends up, there's a great cataclysmic event, and all her people are wiped out. But she just happens to be in this kind of meditation in a little sort of hut in the forest, and all of the deluge goes around and totally misses her. And that sort of supernatural, potent synchronicity of journeying is, I see, the most important thing. It's like to really believe that when we are in tune within ourselves, not only are we at the right place at the right time and beautiful synchronized experiences can happen, but we are at peace whatever happens. We are not trying to outrun our own anxiety. We are really present in this moment and enjoying every minute of this sacred gift of life. So, last thing, so asking about the rising sea levels, and looking into that, here's what I'm getting. Again, this is another top-down, power-dominant scare tactic to the way it's being put out. I just saw something about this. The UN put out a big notice about, all these cities are going to be underwater in the next decade or something like that. First of all, I also get long, slow process, like 40 plus years. That's just to start with. And then I also get that this has happened so much throughout history. Sea levels rising and falling. I'm a kind of ancient history archaeology buff, and there's all kinds of places all over the world where, even in the last couple of thousand years, there's been places where sea levels have risen, and, seaside towns are slowly sinking. This is not a big new phenomena. This is an ongoing phenomena. And yes, we have some aspect of global warming. We also have some aspect of global cooling. We have just a lot of global activity. If we really do see the earth as our mother, and if she really is in labor, giving birth to something new, I mean, there's a lot of activity. There's a lot of bodily activity going on. There's things are constantly shifting and moving. And I truly believe that it's always been this way on our beautiful planet. She's a living being, you know, like she burps and passes gas. You know, she's like a being. And we've agreed to come here and live in relationship to her. So it's like we allow ourselves and our beautiful earth home the dignity of honoring that relationship by not demanding that there's no weather, that there's no change, that everything has to keep us feeling safe, you know? So if the sea levels are rising, we're going to slowly move to somewhere else. If there's too much seismic activity, we're going to slowly move to somewhere else. And how we move and how we reestablish ourselves, how we set up these regional, beautifully diverse communities, you know, with diverse economics, regional restoration projects, and just a whole new way of living together on this planet, a whole new philosophical and social model. This is how we're going to turn what feels like a great challenge and a lot of concerning future potentials into the greatest gift. And we have the time to do that. I'm just going to look here. Yes. Thank you, Alexandra, Findhorn in Scotland, and Tellinger Ubuntu in South Africa. I totally agree. The earth and her connection to the divine feminine. We're going to leave off with that. And Sue and I, my beautiful moderator, Sue, welcome, Sue. We have been talking about this morning a little bit, acknowledging that, you know, some of the way that the presentation of sun and moon as the two deities of masculine and feminine is perhaps somewhat inadequate and inaccurate, because the real alternate to sun is earth. You know, just as I'm saying this, the guides are saying this is a little bit like the story of Eve being created from the rib of Adam. So it's like, you know, we're focused on this sun moon polarity, which the moon is basically, well, I mean, there's all sorts of different theories about what the moon is, but to me, it's not a balanced, cooperative counterpart to sun. Earth is. So reclaiming the acknowledgement that earth and sun are our true mother and father, not sun and moon, is, I believe, another part of healing these portal systems, doing your inner trauma healing work, exploring this very, very delicately, but also open-heartedly over the next weeks, months, years together. We have so much to learn from, you know, relaxing into giving ourselves the time to explore this and not have to know all the answers right away. Blessings to you, everyone. I look forward to seeing you here again in a couple of weeks. Please put your questions in the comments section below once this live is posted, and I will definitely go through them and choose some more questions to look at for our next live. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Juliet. Thank you, Sophia. Blessings to you all. Thank you, Alun. Be well, everyone. Bye for now.